Investment advisory services offered through Alpha Star Capital Management, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Alpha Star Capital Management, LLC, and SWAN-Capital are independent entities.
What your money would say. Andrew McNair. Money Talks. Are you listening? Money Talks. Are you listening? Money Talks. Are you listening? What your money would say with Andrew McNair.
We're live here on What Your Money Would Say. I'm your host, Andrew McNair. And for the next 30 minutes every Saturday from 12:30 to 1 o'clock, we'll be taking financial chickens and making them financial swans. Now, what does a financial swan even mean? A financial swan is someone that sleeps well at night. And as a retiree at SWAN-Capital, my wealth management firm, I believe that as a retiree, you deserve to sleep well at night. After putting 3 kids through college, saving money in your 401k, and even putting a little bit back to your charities and your local church, that you deserve to finally sleep well at night. And we're going to pull back the curtain on some of these topics that retirees deal with that no one really prepares you for. No one sits down with you and says, hey, have you prepared for your kid's college? Have you prepared for your elder parent when they need to go to assisted living and skilled nursing? So these are some of the topics that we continually discuss on What Your Money Would Say. And in today's show, we're going to talk about aging parents, because if you're 50 to 60 years old, you know what it means to be a part of the sandwich generation. Someone that has kids that are in college or just graduating looking for a job that may be still living home with you. And then you also have an 80, 90-year-old parent that may be moving in with you. And you're saying, hey, I'm pulled in between this sandwich and I don't know where to go for help. Well, on What Your Money Would Say, we understand your problems because we deal with families just like that every day. And I'm going to bring on an expert, Kathy Rogers, who's a marketing director at Homestead Village, in just a few minutes. But I do want to share with you a few opportunities for you to get some free education that our firm delivers to families in and every day. And the first is, if you go to SWAN-Capital, that's SWAN-Capital, we're offering a free white paper that we just put out called Is College Worth It? And it talks about, the price of college. And it also talks about the difference if you didn't go to college versus you do go to college, how much you can earn over a lifetime. So there's some very healthy statistics that families need to take a look at if they're looking to put their kids through college, or they're going to saddle them with debt if they can't afford it with student loan debt. They need to be prepared to know how much money they're going to be making in this market and this economy. So you don't want to miss that white paper. You can go to swan-capital.com and download it. It's at our free white paper section under Get Educated. Another thing I want to do is offer you an opportunity to learn more about a benefit that's going to be really important in this discussion today when we're discussing aging parents. And that's a benefit that's put on by the VA, the Department of Veterans Affairs, that our nonprofit, the Veteran Benefit Project, helps families file for. And that's called Veteran Aid and Attendance. And if you have an elder parent that's maybe in assisted living or a nursing home and is paying for $6,000 a month, and you're wondering how they're going to be able to afford it for the long term, there's a benefit that can pay up to $2,000 a month to help offset those costs. And if you call our office, we're going to be offering today a free VA eligibility intake, which is a 45-minute meeting to see if they're eligible. But without further ado, I want to bring on Kathy Rogers from Homestead Village. Kathy, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Welcome. Glad to be here.
Well, Kathy, I would love for you to start off and tell us a little bit about Homestead Village. If someone's not familiar with it, it's that beautiful community on Pine Forest Road.
Yes, it is. 7830 Pine Forest Road. Homestead is a community. We call it a village, and that's exactly what it is. We start at independent living, and we actually go to the end of life. So we are aging in place. And that is one of the things that I hear every day. I want to go to a place where when I get there, I don't have to leave. Now, that doesn't mean you don't have to physically move to other buildings, because we have 10 different buildings. And as your needs grow, then there's a building to meet those needs. So that makes a big difference. You may start off in our independent living, and then you may say, I don't want to cook anymore. I'm just tired of doing that. I want somebody to manage my medications. I'm tired of trying to figure out if I'm supposed to take this at a pill at 9 o'clock, a pill at 12 o'clock. So they're ready for basic assistance. And maybe they just want to know that somebody is in the building 24 hours a day.
Sure.
So they come into what we call basic assistance. In basic assistance, we take care of all their needs. They get their meals. They can get medication management if they need it. They can have standby assist with a shower, and they can have nursing care if they need it. So if something happens, they can, they wear a pendant, and they can push it, and a nurse will come right and see what their needs are. If they start to need a little bit more help, say they need help with bathing and dressing, they can go to the level that helps them with that, and so on and so on. You want to be in a building with people that are like you. So if you start off in a building with people who need a lot more help than you do, then you're not comfortable. So that's the reason that we have so many buildings. And the other thing is, in those buildings, we may only have 14, 16, 20 at the most in the building.
So it's a smaller group. I mean, it's not 200 other residents.
It gives you continuity of care, and it kind of feels like a family group. You get to know the people who work there. You get to know your nurses, and you get to know your little group, your peers, So it makes it a family, a village.
And I want to go back and talk about something you said earlier and toot y'all's horn, because Homestead Village is kind of unique, because not many communities can take you from independent living all the way to hospice. I mean, and that's so important, because so many families are fearful. Mom has got so comfortable where she's living, and then when she has a downgrade in health, she has to go somewhere else and start all over in a new place, which is traumatic.
Right. Right.
So that's a huge benefit that Homestead Village does have.
It is, and the difference is even if they're in a building and they have to go to another building, they have already met people who work there. They have met nurses, so they get to know a lot of the people. They get to know the activities director. So when they do move to another building, it's not such a big shock. Now, we do have an ECC license, which is the extended care license, which can help us take them to the end of life. The only time they would have to move is if they have to go to a nursing home because of having to have IVs, colostomies, feeding tubes. We do a natural progression to the end of life.
Now, you were talking about the different levels of care. Now, I know a lot of my clients and families don't want to place mom into assisted living because we have stigmas that have been, I guess, brought to us over the years that, assisted living is, they think a nursing home. They're thinking about families that are, maybe in a wheelchair, drooling, but that's not the case.
No. Assisted living is about quality of life. And no, it's not, it does not look like a nursing home, but you have to know that 25 years ago, there were only nursing homes. Now you have this new thing called assisted living that people in their 80s and 90s don't know anything about. So in their mind, what they see is an actual nursing home where people are sitting in hallways or laying in a bed, and they're doing nothing but drooling or just vegetating. Well, that's not what assisted living is all about. Assisted living is about quality of life. It's about still having activities. We go to restaurants for those who are able to go. We have our monthly happy hour, which is wonderful, where we have a gentleman come and play the piano they enjoy. We have food. We have fellowship. They went to the Senior Follies, as a matter of fact, last night. They go shopping. Walmart is a must trip. They go to grocery stores. They go to Dollar Tree.
They do everything that you would do at home, but with other people at the same age.
With people that are their peers. It's wonderful if you can take care of your mama, but sometimes you have to think about, who is she seeing every day? She sees me. What do I have in common with my mama other than she is my mama? I need for her to be with somebody that she can do something else with. somebody she can talk to, somebody who understands what she's going through, somebody who understands the life that she lived. Their peers are wonderful, and they meet many people who they become good friends with. And that's really what it's about, is having people that you can share your life with. Assisted living is nothing more than helping you with your daily living.
And it's been a godsend for so many families because it gives them that relationship with other people that are their peers. It gives them an enhanced living and gives them that social interaction that they couldn't get at home. So if you're just tuning in to What Your Money Would Say, I'm your host, Andrew McNair, and today's topic is aging parents. And many people love the idea that have actually toured an assisted living, and they understand that the stigma, it's not a nursing home. But the one hurdle that they do have is that they're worried about the cost of assisted living. And what's nice is we work in hand with many assisted livings in town, our nonprofit, the Veteran Benefit Project, on helping families, if they're a veteran, a wartime veteran, and served at least 90 days active service with at least one day during a wartime period, get at least up to $2,000 a month tax-free to help offset some of those costs. So that hurdle of, spending down your money in a nursing home or assisted living is not that big of a hurdle anymore. It gives you that permission slip to leave without selling your home, which is such a big step, because many families say, well, I'd move into assisted living, but selling my home, that's just two big steps. Mm-hmm. But I want to come back to the levels of care. And will you, Kathy, walk us through, what's independent living? Where does that stop? Where does that start? Okay. What's assisted living? Where does that start? Where does that stop? And so forth.
Of course, price is dictated by the size. We start at about $1,300 in our independent living and go to a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. That's $2,250 a month. Now, and even in that, you can get services. You can get your housekeeping. You can have somebody that does your linen service. We do the landscaping. We pay the water, the garbage, the basic cable.
Which is awesome for so many families that are living home saying, I'm tired of paying home insurance, tired of paying the taxes that keep on increasing every year.
And I can't take care of my own lawn. And, and that's a big thing, is I just want to come and have somebody take care of my lawn. I don't want to have to do that anymore. I don't want to clean my house. I don't want to have to do my linens. Those folks still cook, a great number of them. Some of them who choose not to cook can get on a meal plan and buy the lunch meal at our Victorian restaurant. So, they can have it all. Then when they do come to our basic assistance, that starts at $2,400 a month. And, of course, if you're a couple and you want a 1-bedroom suite, then those are $3,200 a month. And that's for basic assistance. In our level 1, which is where you can get a little bit of help with your bathing and dressing, those start at $2,850 and go to about $3,400 for the 1-bedroom.
And I think you stop right there at Bill and E&F, just basic assistance. Mm-hmm. And people say, $2,850, that's a lot of money, but really is it? Because if you went to a hotel where they're going to change your linens, they're going to do the housekeeping, what is that, $100 a day? And they're not going to feed you.
And you're getting 3 meals a day for that.
And you don't have, and they don't do activities with you all the time.
And you have nursing care. You have transportation to the doctor. You have a chance to have a doctor come there and see you. We have a PA who is on site about 4 days a week. We have a podiatrist who comes once a month. If you figure it out and divide that money into what it would be a day, you can't live in a hotel for that and pay your utilities and, and all those extra things. You can't do that.
Yeah, I joke it's like a cruise ship without the water. I always think I want to move in, but they won't let me. You got to be 55 and older, right?
There you go. When people come and tour, and this has happened twice this week, when people come and tour, the children say, when can I do this? I'm ready right now. When can I do this? This is great, and that's what makes it really good. I had a tour last week, and I can tell you, your peers is what tells the story. I had a Saturday tour, which is very unusual, but these folks came. I walked off. We had several of our people who live in the facility, and I just walked off and let them just talk to them. I let the family ask them questions. I let the lady who was the prospective talk to the people who were there. and just let them see, because that's what tells the story, is are they happy?
What a great testimony.
Do they like the food? I mean, all these things. And I can kind of walk away and not be there so they don't feel like, oh, I need to say the right thing. They can say whatever they feel. And the next Monday morning, then the people called me back and said they'd love to take the room.
Wow.
So there you go.
That speaks for itself right there.
Yes, it does.
So if you're just tuning into What Your Money Would Say, I'm your host, Andrew McNair, and today I have the pleasure of bringing on a friend of mine, Kathy Rogers, who is the marketing director for Homestead Village, and we're talking about aging parents. And if you're out there and you're a part of the sandwich generation that I call, families that have college kids that are moving back into the home, and you have maybe elder parents in their 80s and 90s, but are, suffering health-wise, and they're moving in too, and you're saying, well, I'm pulling my hair out. What do I do? Well, you go take a tour at Homestead Village, and she'll share you with an enhanced living called assisted living, which is not a nursing home. And you might go to take other tours at other communities, and that's fine. But one thing that always resonates with families before they make that step is the price. And if you're worried about how is my mom going to afford this assisted living, you know what? It's great that we live in such a military town that there's veterans that served our country honorably. And it really surprises them when they find out that when they get to this stage in life and when they need assisted living, that the VA is not going to turn away from them. That there's also benefits called VA aid and attendance that will help pay up to $2,000 a month tax-free to a veteran and spouse if they served at least 90 days active service with at least 1 day during a wartime period. And if you want to find out if your parent's eligible for that benefit, I encourage you to call our nonprofit's phone number at 850-380-5137. That's 850-380-5137. So back to aging parents. Kathy, let's talk about the signs of knowing when your mother or father potentially are a great candidate for assisted living.
I get from children all the time, oh, my mom can tell you everything that happened to her from when she was a little girl. She can tell you about her parents and her grandparents and the houses that she lived in.
Oh, she's fine. She remembers more than I do.
Right. And I say, does she know what she did yesterday? Does she remember what she ate for lunch? Those are things, it's the short-term memory. It's not the long-term memory. It's the short-term memory, which means if I turned on the stove, I might not remember in 5 minutes that I turned on the stove.
How scary.
So those things, and those are things to think about. It's the here and now that you have to think about. What is she doing in the here and now? Yeah, I can tell you about my past, but can I tell you about what I'm doing today? Can I tell you if I remembered to take my medicine this morning? And those are things that the children need to look at.
And they could take multiple prescriptions multiple times if they're not careful. I've heard countless stories of that happening.
Mm-hmm. And that's true. And how many stories have you heard about somebody that did turn on an oven and walked outside,
and practically burnt the house down? Or
people who can walk outside and forget how to get back in, or go up the street and turn around and forget where they came. Had a lady who drove all the way to Fort Walton because she was looking for a familiar street, and she continued to drive until she ran out of gas.
How scary.
Luckily, a state trooper was the one who found her, because anybody could have found her. But he was the one who found her and called the family. And that's when they said, okay, it's time. Don't wait for something like that to happen. If you're already seeing signs, you don't think mom's taking her medicine when she's supposed to, go ahead and start looking. Go ahead and ask.
What would it hurt to take a tour?
And it doesn't. Go start looking at places. You want to be somewhere where you feel at home. That's one of the most important things. If you walk in a facility and you feel this is a nice, homey place, then chances are that's the place that you want your parent to be.
And you brought up a good point. Talk about how do you pick the right community? Because that must be hard. There's so many options in Pensacola. How do you find what's best? And I don't think there's a right or the best community. It's what's best for you.
You look on the website, and you start looking at reviews. word of mouth is our greatest asset.
I know y'all don't do any marketing.
Yeah, we have a few things that we do, but word of mouth has been our greatest asset because people are happy, and they're going to tell other people. And so that's been very important to us. But that's what I say. Talk to other people. If their parents are in a facility, see where they're at. The other thing is look at their state surveys. The state, we are mandated by the state, by ACA, and that's something that's very important to us. We go by the letter of the law at Homestead, and our administrator is wonderful in making sure that we do everything the state tells us to do. Ask for their state survey. See what the last has been. See what the last few years have been. Ask questions. That's the main thing. You have to ask questions.
And if it's a good score, the community will be proud to offer it.
Yes, you are absolutely right. And they won't hide your book, and they won't say their book, and they won't say, well, we had some problems, No, just straight up ask them, what's going on. See what their turnover rate is with their employees. We have employees who have been at Homestead for 8, 9, 15, 13, 20, couple who've been there for 22 years. Our general manager has been there for over 22 years.
Which, if you're not familiar with this industry, which I am, it'd be lucky if you sometimes last longer than 3 years.
Yes.
And it's sad because and a lot of people work really hard, but it's a very tough industry, and it's tough to have such a great reputation like y'all do.
Yes, it is.
You have to work hard for it. Now, talking about, you have to also look at budget. If mom can't afford it, or she's going to spend down her assets too fast, that might not be the right community for you as well.
And that's where the aid and attendance benefit is so important to us. One of the first questions that I ask when people do come in and we start talking about money, I say, was your dad a veteran? That's one of the first questions.
Or a widow of a veteran.
Or is your mom a widow of a veteran? And when I tell them about the aid and attendance benefit, it's mind-boggling now to still hear, I don't know anything about it. I've never heard about it. And then I'm able to give them, information. And I say, I have someone who'll gladly help you with all the ins and outs because, with paperwork with the government, how difficult it is. And if you don't understand everything, well, you need somebody who can cross the T's and dot the I's. And I tell them all the time how important it is. And how much we appreciate you, Andrew, for all the stuff that you do.
Well, I appreciate if you're out there and you served our country, especially during the wartime, you deserve these benefits. I always tell them, freedom isn't free, and it comes at a cost. And we want to make sure that these veterans and the widows of these veterans retire with dignity. And so that's what Veteran Aid and Attendance was created for, is to help offset some of these costs that you can incur in assisted living or nursing home. So if you want to find out more about that benefit, I encourage you to call our office at 850-380-5137. That's 850-380-5137. Now, after you see that mom has some signs, potential dementia, or she's losing some of her short-term memory, can't take her pills as often as she needs to, how do you approach that conversation? Because that must be an awkward conversation, because they're immediately thinking, oh, my son's trying to put me in a home now.
Mm-hmm. And it is. I say, once the family has come to take the tour, the way to approach it is to let mom or dad come and take the tour also. Let them see what kind of place it is, because you don't want to put them someplace sight unseen. The next step is the administrator goes and does an assessment, and she goes to the home. And she's very good at what she does, and she's able to talk to them, ask them the right questions, and she's able to kind of guide them in the way that they need to go. She's the one who makes the decision as to what building they need to go to. After that process is done, of course, we start the doctor paperwork, and it's not a long process, but it's a lot of paperwork that has to be done.
And mostly y'all take care of all of that for the families.
Yes.
So it's not like it's going to be a big process to place mom into assisted living. You're going to take care of most of the work.
Right. Well, and they have to fill out the packet, but we try to make everything as simple as it can be, down to the doctor, to having our pharmacy that we use, to our transportation, anything that we can do to help families, because You're talking about a sandwich generation. You've got people with kids, with grandkids. Now they've got parents. They don't have time, and most of them still work. They don't have time to come take mom to a doctor's appointment. What we want them to do is we want to take care of mom, and we want them to come and visit. We want them to take mom for lunch. We want them to come and join for lunch. But we want their life to be easy, too. And that's really what it's all about. This is
spending
about
that quality time.
The whole family. It's about the whole family. And we try to make it like that it is about the family. It's not just about your mom or dad. It's about what you can do once you put mom and dad in. Because people feel guilty. I say, don't feel guilty. Come let us take care of mom and dad. You come and have enjoyable time with them. And then everybody kind of wins.
Yeah, that's so true. And if you listen to one of our past radio shows, we had Dr. Mayu, who's a geriatric doctor, and he once told me, he says, Andrew, if you're going to feel guilty, you're probably going to feel guilty regardless. You're either going to, when you put mom into an assisted living or nursing home, you're going to feel guilty about placing her there. If you keep her at home and you try to caregive her for yourself, you're not spending time with your kids, your grandkids, and you're going to feel guilty there. So what he said is just have a pity party and get over it, and then go make the steps that you need to make for the family.
Yes.
Because how much better of a time well spent the last few years of maybe your parents' life that you're not being their caregiver, it's like a work relationship, but instead a quality relationship of spending quality time with them. Right. So that's how I think important assisted living is.
You don't want to have to be the parent to your parents. And too often today, that's what's going on. And if you don't know how to take care of them, if having to take your mom to the bathroom or having to bathe your mom, especially if you're a male, those are sometimes very awkward situations. So why not bring them somewhere where we know what to do? If
trained.
They do, we're trained. We work with dementia and Alzheimer's patients. You have to redirect them. And if you're at home and mom is having a really bad day, you may not know what to say or how to redirect them. And then you're frustrated. And that's not a good situation to be in.
Before I wrap up and we share a little bit more information about Homestead Village, and if you're just tuning in today, you're listening to What Your Money Would Say, and I'm your host, Andrew McNair, and we're talking about aging parents, and we have Kathy Rogers with Homestead Village, and I want to talk one more time because again, this is so many for so many families, it's a surprise. Talk about, is Medicare or Obamacare going to pay for assisted living?
No, Medicare does not pay for assisted living. Medicare does not pay for nursing home. Obamacare does not. It is all insurance. TRICARE, it is all insurance. It pays for rehab. It pays for hospital.
And it goes by the days, not the months or the years.
Right. When you live in an assisted living, there is no insurance that pays for that. It is, for us, it is private pay. And we do not accept Medicaid. So we are private pay. It can get quite expensive.
Which most assisted livings are. They're mostly all private pay.
Yes. So do not, that's the number one question I get is, now Medicare is going to pay for this or TRICARE is going to pay for this. And I have to say no.
And it's scary and they're so shocked.
That is your insurance. Now, if you have long-term care insurance, that is a wonderful thing. That's the reason the aid and attendance benefit is so important, because when somebody says, how am I going to pay for this? Then we can go into, are you a veteran? That at least gives you income to help. Now, I also have to tell them it is not a tomorrow thing. It takes time, but it is retroactive. And that's one of the things that helps them out to know it is a retroactive money.
And if you want to find out more information about Homestead Village, you can go visit them at 7830 Pine Forest Road or give them a call at 941-5000. And if you want to find out more information about the Veteran Benefit Project and about this benefit that pays up to $2,000 for assisted living, call our office at 380-5137. That's 380-5137. Well, Kathy, thank you for coming on What Your Money Would Say.